Nauta.
What a beautiful introduction, thank you. Yeah, my name's Ralph. Together with Lonneke, we founded Studio Drift. We've been busy since a while, and our work consists of my personal interest and that of hers. So I'm very fascinated about science fiction. I read a lot, love to watch good sci-fi movies, and my partner Lonneke, she's very fascinated about the beauty of nature, processes happening in it, and it's a combined interest that is our work. It's seemingly different energies that can coexist and work together. So I'll first show like a small video that you get an idea of the body of work that we do, and then yeah, talk a little bit later after. So this is us in our studio, and we work both in very different ways. I normally come up with an idea and immediately know what I want to make, and then it might take 5-10 years until in my head I figured out how to actually do it. But once I know, I start building it. And Lonneke, she works more in a process way whereby she might have an idea in a certain direction, but then through experiment and research, she gets to a conclusion and then starts building the work. So it's two different ways of energy of working. But when we find that middle ground, then we know what we want to make. One of the most known works that we do is called Fragile Future, whereby it's actually Lonneke's graduation project, whereby you see a very literal marriage of nature and technology. So once a year we go out to the field and we pick around 30,000 dandelions, and we let them dry in the studio. And once we need them, we start taking them apart and glue them with tweezers one by one, seed per seed, back on an LED to create this natural little piece of light. Yeah. So here you see how she does, how we do it. I used to do this all the time, like back in the day. Unfortunately, I don't have time anymore for this kind of work. It's very tranquil. I actually need more of this in my life. I should do this more. But yeah, we incorporate these in this three-dimensional electrical circuit that we make. And with that, we relate to spaces. So normally how it works, we get a commission and then we start designing for it and then look how the work relates to it and then have almost this fungi-like life form between tech and nature overgrowing spaces and yeah, creating these kind of pieces. This was a very large one that we did for the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam a couple of years ago. Proud of that one. One thing that we find very relevant in the world around us is that the connection with nature. I mean, I think we lose that a lot in our society. But it's like when you go to the beach, you have these natural frequencies of the oceans. You just relate to that in a very direct way, and you never say the next day, I don't need to go to the beach anymore because I've seen it. But if you, even something beautiful man-made as the Eiffel Tower, when you go to Paris, the first time you visit it, it's fantastic, but the next time you go to Paris, you might not go and visit it again because it's just this static object. And we try to bring these natural frequencies back to the people that see our work. And this is, for example, a piece that we did that has that rhythm in it. And yeah. So it's actually about the light reflecting on the glass in a very elegant way. And yeah. This is another example of that. It's one of my favorite pieces. It's called Shy Lights, and what it does, it mimics the behavior of flowers blooming with this last burst of energy to be the most beautiful version of itself, to get pollinated. Just putting all that energy in there just before it dies off. And yeah, I just relate to that piece, and hopefully in my life I get to that point. But we'll see. Yeah, if you look at the world around us, the man-made, this is actually the Netherlands. You can see that everything is just structured and built up, and it's just how we work, how we think. We think in a very mathematical way, but it's also, that relationship to nature that we miss so much. It's like even our cities around us, how we live in these concrete structures. It's, in my opinion, a very unhealthy way of living, and not how we should function. But yeah, it works. But maybe there are better solutions. Even if you look at our cities, we live in these very structured landscapes, in these block shapes that are just very unnatural. I talked about science fiction in the beginning, and as one of my big inspiration sources. And this is actually a paragraph from a book from Thomas More. It's Utopia. It was written in 1516. So it was, in my opinion, one of the first sci-fi books. And it just shows you how we think as humans, and that it also shows you the power of an idea. That like you have these writers, these big thinkers that think about the future, and then it's actually the technicians that read that and start developing it. I always used to think that if somebody got it right in the future about something that was written in the past, that was kind of a luck factor. But now I really understand that it's the other way around. This is just the way ideas are evolve and are used by technicians to build what we have around us. So we do have a responsibility in, therefore, thinking about these ideas and also the consequences of what these ideas can have. And just something I want to share. So this is a piece that I'm very proud of. It's called Drifters. It's, again, a mathematical shape the human made, and it's about the relationship we have as being those mathematical thinkers with our surrounding, trying to make sense of it all around us, and relate to each other, and just show you a piece. So we use that block shape a lot, and yeah, here's another example of a static block that becomes fluent in this opera that we made this piece for. It's called Ego, and it has this reference to the mind of the main character that is in the beginning very static, but becomes fluent within this beautiful opera that Monteverdi made. It's actually the first opera ever created, and in my opinion, the most beautiful. So, yeah, I was very happy to work on this piece. Another work is called Materialism. It's about actually my how do you call it? My fascination of people being bored. Like, I never understand that. How can you be bored in this world whereby we have such marvelous things around us that we don't understand? Like in this case, a Volkswagen Beetle that I used to own, and just trying to understand the world around us made me and Lonneke take apart these objects, and this is actually all the material that goes into a Volkswagen Beetle, but then represented in this, again, mathematical shape. And one thing that I discovered that I found very fascinating is that that large block on top is actually horsehair. So you start thinking, okay, how much horsehair do you need to fill up all these beetles around the world? And yeah, just fascinating. On the left side here, you see, is that on the left? Yes, it is. So that's a Game Boy, one of the toys I used to own and was always holding in my hand, but never knew how it worked. So taking that apart and figuring out all these different materials, where do they come from, what influence does it have on the world, what is the scale of it all. On the right side is actually just the game that goes into it, so that's actually Tetris. So. The last piece I want to talk about is called franchise freedom. It comes from this idea of swarming behavior of birds. Again, started in 2007, started to work on this. This fascination of the sacrifice of the individual to work in the group, and also this illusion of freedom when you look at a swarm of birds, and asking ourselves the question, what do you actually want in life? Do you want to be free and vulnerable, or do you want to live in society but with all the sacrifices needed to function? And we made this static art piece back in the day whereby you see this swarm algorithm flying through, and again, this is in the Rijksmuseum the Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam. And we thought, how can we have that swarm algorithm, take that out and have that physically in the sky? And at that time, there were just like some universities playing around with quadcopters. There was no drone industry. And we started putting lights on the drones and, working with Intel to actually, build the tech to make this happen. And it now is an industry replacing fireworks. So it also shows you the power of an idea, that it might lead to something completely different than you intended. But it's quite a process to get there. But we made it work. And this is actually at Burning Man 2018 when we flew it for the first time there. And I was very happy to do so. I just love to listen to Hugh Beving. He's this Dutch composer. So I'm out of time, but thank you so much for attention, and happy to be here.